Hi, Barry. Okay, so I have this 6105 in that you got from Larry out in California, UncleSeiko. It's a good watch. It's a good watch. It has the usual challenges that these do. And I guess let's talk about the numbers, which is always fun. It's run very roughly. It's not a happy watch. I mean, I could tell by looking at it that it was running weekly, but it's having all kinds of issues. You can see that the upstroke here of the one pallet stone is just gross. It's just running weekly. It's definitely dirty. Is definitely worn. It's gonna need a major service. I mean, this stuff may straighten out when it gets cleaned. I don't know what the surface of that pallet stone looks like. I mean, if it's dirty and gritty and gross, it can produce numbers like this. Though this is unusually rough. I mean, because it's bad enough that my machine can't even lock on numbers. Obviously, it's running, but boy, it needs service. Okay, let's talk about the things I see in your movement. Generally, it's okay. Obviously, it's running. It's hazy. I don't see any real wobble on the part of your balance. I'm not sure what's going on with your pallet fork. The only thing I see, and again, this is extremely typical for these. See this line? See this round thing right here? It goes underneath here. This is that's the mainspring barrel. You see this line of brassing that's around the edge? It's supposed to be silver right to the edge. So what's happened is that this screw is sitting on top of an axle, the axle that the mainspring barrel rotates on. This is called the mainspring arbor. And when the lower part of this arbor sits in the main plate in an unprotected hole, a port, and as the torque of the movement as the torque as the mainspring happens, it pushes against one side of that hole, and it eventually will wear and turns it into an oval, and then the whole watch can move. Look at the reflection on the top of this screw. That's the entire shaft moving. You can see the whole barrel moving. And what's happening is it's tipping so much now that the barrel is contacting the underside of the train bridge. So that is going to need repair. It's just one of those things. These watches are prone to that. It is what it is. But it's something that's going to have to be done. It's going to be, I have a couple ways to cure it. I can install a Seiko made bushing, which is really the best way to do it. And then that will be good for a very long time. And all that warp and movement will be gone. Let's talk cosmetics. This is a good system for a given value of good. Hang on. Okay. It's a decent watch. It's original. It's never been polished or messed with. It's got some tool marks in the case back. But generally, it's good. We're going to have to talk about what your goals are. But I mean, I guess how I always start with these is I say, well, what would I do? What would I do if it were my watch? Well, honestly, if this were my watch, I'd clean it. I mean, I'd clean the dial. I'd clean the hands. There isn't this black scunge that's in here that really usually can't be minimized. If I cleaned and reloomed the hands, it might come clean, but then you'd be losing your original loom. The worst is obviously on your sweep hand, because when the moisture gets in, it sits here. It's really up to you. Me, I would probably leave it. I try to minimize it, see if I can make it any better, but it probably really won't turn better. I don't know. It's up to you. I could relume this handset, and the daytime colors would match, but it would glow at night, and the watch would take a hit to its originality. It's a borderline case. So the things I'm seeing in this watch, it definitely needs a movement service. It might need a pallet fork. I'm not sure. The movement's definitely worn. Definitely ran for a long time dirty. It needs the lower mainspring arbor port repair. It absolutely has to have that. It needs a complete case rebuilt with all new seals. it needs this crown rebuilt, and I'm one of the only people in the world that can do that. These crowns are sealed with a cap on the inside, and so the seal is in there permanently. I'm one of 2 people in the world commercially that can open these crowns and replace this seal. That absolutely should be done. Something else I was going to tell you about this. Oh, there's an original Type 2 crystal. I always laugh when I started talking about reproducing the Type 2 crystals. One of the old timers was like, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to reproduce the Type 2 crystals? Almost no one used them. They were almost never used, which is total nonsense. So, Tom, wherever you are, again, you're wrong. The Type 2 crystals were produced from about mid-1970, and I used to think to mid-1975, but I saw a watch in last week from 1976, and it had its Type 2 in there. We're the only company in the world that makes this crystal, this Type 2 crystal, which I consider to be the quintessential 6105 1X crystal. Anyway, that's what I do. Crystal, seals, crown rebuild, lower mainspring, arbor port repair, and of course a movement service. Good watch though. Nice. And there's one of Larry's new straps. He sells as UncleSeiko on eBay. UncleSeiko on eBay. Nice watch. Okay, thank you.